Sì, ma guarda che bello. Ah, vedi, eccoci qua, Roma, here I come.
They're the toast of the Italian community in Australia. 74-year-old newspaper editor Nino Randazzo and his long-time friend, 48-year-old welfare worker Marco Fedi.
Big experience.
It's an experience. And what I say, it's a rejuvenating experience.
That's right, that's right.
They live in Melbourne, yet now they'll be spending a lot of time in Rome. Nino and Marco are leaving family behind to be part of an Italian political experiment.
No, I heard about you guys on the radio a couple of days ago, and I was thinking to myself, they live here and they've been elected to Parliament in Italy.
You want to come with Nonno? You want to come with the Nonno? Hey?
Where most septuagenarians are settling back to enjoy the grandchildren, Nino Randazzo is taking on a new career.
Well, that's where I've got 3 daughters, a wife and 3 daughters. They think I'm mad, totally mad. I'm mad to the extent of being admitted to a lunatic asylum. But they are happy, terribly happy and proud at the same time. It's as simple as that.
For the first time, Italy has given its citizens living abroad their own representation in the Italian Parliament, dividing the world into 4 vast electorates. Nino and Marco will represent Italians in Asia, Australia, Africa, and even the 16 Italians in Antarctica.
We've got a lot to learn, and I guess Nino too, in the next few days before we face this sort of scrutiny from the Italian media.
They are the odd couple of Italian politics. Marco, the studious and worried type, Nino, well, less so.
Are you nervous?
No, absolutely not. Quite happy, relaxed, I'm taking it in my stride.
They're flying into Italian political upheaval. Marco will be in the lower house, but in the Senate, where Nino takes his place, the centre-left Unione government of Romano Prodi holds a mere 2-seat majority. It can't afford to put Nino offside. You have a lot of power, don't you?
Well, let's put it this way. Yes, in a way. I was holding the balance of power. It's not an easy task to achieve.
Rome, the eternal city of 7 hills, home of Catholicism, antiquity, style, and more than its fair share of chaos.
Ambasciatore,
Good to see you. Thank you for coming.
First stop, the Australian Embassy in Rome.
They already call us the odd couple.
The odd couple.
So if we live together, then
It'll be really strange.
2 Aussies in the Italian Parliament will be a great boost to Australia's lobbying capacity.
It's fantastic for us Italians living in Australia because they've got a voice.
Barely 24 hours after their arrival, Nino and Marco are invited to meet the new Prime Minister, Romano Prodi. He's keen to hold their vote. From suburban Melbourne to the centre of power in Rome, it's an anxious few minutes wait. Eventually, their leader emerges. Finally here, and from so far away, he says. Italians refer to their new, more mundane leader as mortadella, the bland compressed meat used to fill focaccias. He only has a few minutes to spare, but tell me everything, he says to his guests.
Io non mi sono molto sorpreso del risultato del voto all'estero perché su voi non avevate il bombardamento mediatico su, voi non avete idea di che campagna elettorale è stata all'interno, non avete idea.
They discuss the logistical problems of commuting from their overseas electorates to the Parliament in Rome.
È evidente, non potete mica diventare solo italiani, voi siete un ponte. Voi siete italiani in Italia e siete italiani però anche in Australia, insomma, non avete la possibilità di fare solo uno dei due compiti.
Vicepresidenti iraniani.
They only get a few minutes, but that's more than most. The Australians are given priority treatment by party officials. And soon, the local media also take an interest, keen to know if their vote in Parliament is negotiable. More meetings with high-ranking officials, this one with Enrico Letta, the Prime Minister's right-hand man.
We live in a globalized world. This is the point. Maybe we are the first country experimenting this new idea of globalization of democracy, but we live in a globalized world, so...
Letta's prime responsibility will be to revive Italy's stagnant economy. Chinese imports are a big threat to Italy's fashion and textile industry. Laura Biagiotti is one of the country's top designers. She says it's a political mistake to allow overseas Italians in the parliament.
I don't agree with this idea because, in my opinion, basically you have to vote in the country where you pay your taxes. So these people that came out because they have a sentimental reason to be Italian, I don't strongly believe that they can be so interesting for our situation.
They tend to focus on the fact that we gave Prodi a majority in the Senate, and they forget to ask us questions about who we are, what we represent, and why we're here. And that's the kind of discussion that I would like to start both with the media and with public opinion in Italy, because there are many misconceptions about why we are here.
I think yes, will be a short experiment, because I don't think that people who spend their life in other countries for maybe 2 or 3 generations, since they know so well how things are going there.
Most Italians seem to have embraced the idea of foreigners playing a political role in their country. Others question its value.
Perché l'italiano all'estero, io ho mia figlia che lavora all'estero, ha votato, lavora a Bruxelles ed è giusto perché è un'italiana che... Ma uno che sta in Australia, che cosa sa dei nostri problemi?
Sì, penso che abbiano una visione più lucida e disincantata di noi italiani, perché stanno fuori e probabilmente si sono fatti un'idea tramite i mezzi di comunicazione dei loro paesi.
Che adesso sono nel Parlamento italiano, è buono
È una
questo?
cosa giusta, certo, perché sono italiani all'estero, devono dare la possibilità di votare anche loro in Italia.
Anche la loro rappresentazione
Poi
qua.
se specialmente votano per l'Ulivo, ci danno la maggioranza al Senato, è ancora meglio.
The political temperature in the capital is intense as doubts continue about Prodi's capacity to form government. The expatriate MPs supporting Prodi meet to discuss a common strategy. They want greater financial and cultural assistance for the 3.5 million Italian citizens living overseas. Gino Bucchino's electorate is North and Central America.
We are still Italian. We are still Italian. We have been... we decide to go outside working in search of work and a better life because we couldn't do here in Italy. But still we are Italian, and we helped Italy in the difficult year of the 50, the 60, with our money coming from outside. We really helped Italy to survive. So now is the moment that Italy has to give something to us.
Expatriate MPs have been working together and now have a common strategy.
We gave a gift incredible to the Italian, to Romano Prodi, and so he can have a strong government thanks to the Italian abroad.
So Prodi owes you.
Yes, Italy and Prodi owe us, yes.
I feel both excited and a bit concerned because I'm not really sure what I have to do. For instance, if I have to go and sit down and stay there on my own all day, I just seeing all these old parliamentarians knowing what to do, and but I think I'll manage. I'll follow what they do.
The big day has arrived, the first day of Parliament.
It's an historical moment for us because we finally have this political direct representation in Parliament. Now we have to make sure that we make a difference, and that's the challenge.
Marco finds his place among the 630 MPs who make up Italy's lower house, the Chamber of Deputies. It's a nervous start, but after just an hour, the session is over. Time for an espresso. The Italian Senate is made up of more, let's say, mature-aged folk, some of them life members. No one younger than 40 is allowed to take a seat in this chamber. Being a senatore appears to suit Nino well.
Some formalities. Now the voting is starting now.
Nino emerges for a moment, pursued by the paparazzi.
I don't know whether I'm coming or going. I'll let you know later.
He's keen to get back to cast that all-important vote. His first time in the Senate voting booth passes without incident. Outside, Rome is chaotic most days, and that's mirrored inside the Parliament, where the Berlusconi forces stall and filibuster to make the point that the Prodi coalition may not be able to govern effectively with such a tiny majority. Senator Randazzo emerges unscathed to face the media glare. The Italian newspapers describe his trademark hand gestures as a Christ-like wave. They've taken a liking to the Australian senatore, and it's mutual. His work for the time being is done in Rome. It's off to visit family and friends on his hometown island in Sicily. It's a 6-hour trip from Rome to Salina by plane and then 2 ferries. Senator Randazzo was running late, but a well-placed phone call ensured the boat didn't leave without him.
No, this is enough time.
The crew were not amused.
7 minutes.
7 minutes for senatori.
Even for the crewmen, it's worth the wait.
Ciao Nino!
And this is just a stop on the way to Salina. The local TV interviewer describes his triumphant return as a fairy tale come true. He's collared by someone who thinks the senatore is his local member. He wants a roof built on the ferry stop. And it's back on board for the final leg to Salina.
Carissimo Riccardo, ti cercavo a Santa Marina.
Nino first left the island more than 50 years ago. Like millions of other post-war migrants, he was searching for a better life in a faraway land of opportunity. It took him to great success in Australia, first as a journalist, then editor of the country's main Italian-language newspaper. He returns here often, but this time, as a newly elected senator, Nino is feted as a local hero.
Questo è il momento più bello per me, tornare alla mia terra.
Nino comes to pay tribute to two women who have most influenced his life. He calls them his two smiling ladies. One for his mother's gravesite, the other he takes to the church where he was baptised. He credits the Madonna with giving him the strength to carry on.
It all goes back to about 2 months ago when I was seriously considering abandoning the campaign trail in Australia. I found it too stressing, too tiring. But my sister called me time and time again over the phone, telling me, don't do it, go ahead. Two smiling ladies on Salina telling me that you must go ahead and that you'll succeed.
Nino's links to this island are strong and he tends them carefully. When he's there, he still stays in the 400-year-old family home where he was born.
I was baptized into the church and I grew up in the shadow of this church. See, in this house, something like 7 children were born from my mother's side, my mother's sisters and brothers.
Over the decades, Italy's poorer southern regions have given up their citizens to migration.
And when we think that over the past century and a half of Italian unity, 60 million Italians have moved away from Italy, and which is the equivalent of the present population of Italy, you think that they should have thought of this diaspora long ago. They have not. And suddenly, for the simple fact of the representatives, of some of the representatives, parliamentary representatives elected abroad for the very first time, that are holding the balance of power, all of a sudden they've taken this interest in the Italian community abroad.
The passion for Nino now is to make this Italian experiment work. While it has cost Silvio Berlusconi office, it has opened new possibilities for Nino and Marco and their dream of success on a global scale.
This experiment could be a very small step towards something which probably will happen in a century or more. That is world citizenship. And I think this is a first step, a very small step, but it's a step in that direction, that marvelous direction of world fraternity and solidarity.
With the Italian communities abroad, we'll be very clear. We'll try to simplify the complex Italian system in order to tell them exactly what the situation is, and we'll never lie. Lying is something that happens frequently in Parliament and in politics. I don't think will change in that respect. We'll always be Marco Fedi and Nino Randazzo, the odd couple, but very loyal to everyone.